Hi, I'm Monica. I am a registered dietitian. I'm also licensed in the state of Texas. And this is Pantry Table Talk Summer Series, where we talk about nutrition tips and tricks on how to eat healthier on a budget. We are live, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will follow up on the Facebook page and also the YouTube channels. The information in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. I recommend that you talk to your doctor and or registered dietitian on your special case. I feel like, oh yes, I'm not going to forget this. Stay tuned to the end of the video when I'm going to talk about the Emergency Food Assistance Program. So today we are making chicken lettuce wraps. Chicken is a great source of protein and niacin. Niacin is a vitamin that's part of the B complex, and it's very important for our bodies. It is used by every single cell in our body to create energy, and it's so important that severe deficiency can cause a disease called pellagra, and that's categorized by the 4 Ds. That's dermatitis, that's dementia, stomach problems, and death. So if you can think about that person, that's just a terrible condition to be in. But to help negate deficiencies, a good idea is to have variety on your dinner plate. And this recipe is probably the most complex one. Should I wait? I'll wait for the train. The train is joining us today too. And so there's a lot of ingredients here. I do encourage you to add substitutions. I am going to be tasting some of the ingredients to give you an idea of what it tastes like. We are using, as far as spices, we're going to be using garlic powder and ground ginger. Spices can sometimes be expensive. You can save a lot of money if you go to the bulk section for your spices. And again, I encourage substitutions. And this recipe is more of a Thai Chinese recipe. So there's some ingredients here that I don't use very frequently, but it's fun to use different ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the chicken because the cooking the chicken part is going to take a little bit of time. So I'm using sesame seed oil. It says about a teaspoon. And we are using ground chicken today. And I am a food safety nerd. I drive people crazy. So I'm going to be using this spoon as it cooks and then a different spoon to actually cook it because we're dealing with raw chicken. And I get rid of this. So as that starts to cook, we're going to wait for it to get a little brown, and then we're going to add the onions. I'm adding a half a cup of chopped onions. So it's going to take a few minutes to get this brown. And while I'm doing that, I am going to be showing you the ingredients for the sauce. So we're going to be using peanut butter. We are going to be using honey. And I'm going to include the link if it's not already there for the recipe. It's from the Central Texas Food Bank, sriracha sauce. If you don't know about this, you should definitely try this. You can put it on everything. It's like hot sauce. We're going to be using rice vinegar. Like I mentioned, we are going to be using garlic powder and ground ginger. And then we also have, I may be pronouncing this incorrectly, hoisin sauce, which is used in a lot of ramen, like traditional ramen, Vietnamese ramen. So it gives it that little subtle sweet taste. And of course, soy sauce. So I am going to taste this hoisin sauce to give you an idea what it is. Whoa. Okay. What it tastes like. It's almost like a barbecue sauce with this smoky flavor in it. And then the last flavor that I taste is this saltiness. It's really good. And this is for the sauce that we're going to be using at the end. So this is rice vinegar. It tastes to me like regular vinegar. It has a subtle hint of apple cider, but it's not that I know apple cider is not sweet, but you know what I'm talking about, that apple flavor. There's definitely something there, but it's not as prominent. So I would suggest vinegar as a substitute, just for plain white vinegar. Or if you wanted to try the apple cider, because there's a lot of sweet flavors here. And if you have or know of a substitution, please leave that in the comments for other people. I don't know if you realize this or not. I'm not a cook, but I love food. My bachelor's in food science, and I love the smell of the kitchen. So if you're like me and a little intimidated in the kitchen, don't be afraid to get in there and try new things and taste everything. I dated a few chefs, and the secret is to taste. Like, taste as you prepare so you can make those modifications. So this, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. So the ground chicken, I'm not sure if it has skin or not, but if you remove the skin, it lowers the cholesterol content in chicken. And I promote all kinds of protein sources. Chicken is just a little easier to work with. It is recommended that you get, if you are eating fish, like twice a week, your protein sources from fish to get those omega fats in. And chicken also has choline. I didn't realize this was going to take a little bit of time, but I'm just going to be talking about nutrition since that's also my thing. So choline is, I started seeing people talk about choline recently, and it's a very interesting vitamin. It is associated, well, the deficiencies are associated with depression and other mental illnesses. And there's also some benefits, prenatal benefits as well. But again, it's not a good or excellent source of choline. But just to give you an idea, because I think that's going to be the next vitamin people are talking about, choline. Alright, so this is getting a little brown. Now it's going to take about 5 minutes for the onion. And I'm looking at my recipe. It doesn't say anything about salt or pepper yet. That's probably at the end to season. And the sauce is packed with so many flavors, you may not even have to add salt or pepper. Alright, so I'm going to wait for the onions to cook and become a little translucent. I'm going to pop the peanut butter. It's a tablespoon of peanut butter in the microwave for 30 seconds. And this is just going to melt it a little bit. You don't want it completely melted. Alright, time cook. Auto cook, no. Options, timer. There we go. Maybe I should have practiced that before the cooking demo. Alright, so now I'm smelling that onion. This is cooking faster than I thought. So what we're also going to be adding is water chestnuts, and we have a can of water chestnuts here, and 1 bell pepper. So it's about 1.5 cups. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. I love bell pepper. I used to cut it up and just take it to school with me to eat, just raw. Maybe that's too low. All right, so I am going to grab a towel because I don't know how hot this is going to be. I'm going to maybe another 15 seconds. I think I got it now. The onions cooked a little faster than I thought they would, so I recommend maybe shorter time. The recipe says about 5 minutes. I think it was only about 2 or 3 minutes. And then adding the bell pepper, because the bell pepper takes a little bit longer to cook. And again, like, I'm not a chef by any means. I'm just not afraid of making mistakes. And it's food, right? I mean, you can always do things to make it taste better. Oh, that smells great. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to put it in for another 15 seconds. It's still very thick. I just wanted to have a little bit more movement. So that's going to be about a minute together. I do recommend maybe 30 seconds because your microwave may be different. Right. So just to show you what I'm working with. So it's not as thick, it's a little runny, but it's not too runny because we're going to be adding a lot of liquids to it. So we're going to be adding soy sauce. The soy sauce, a tablespoon of soy sauce. We are going to be adding the hoisin sauce. And I have a clean spoon. Again, food safety freak. So a tablespoon of hoisin sauce. Yep. And then the rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of the rice vinegar. Mix that up. And then I put everything else in a separate glass bowl. So the rest of it is going to be the tablespoon of honey, teaspoon of sesame oil, 2 teaspoons of sriracha sauce, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and the 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. So I'm expecting this to be sweet and have a nutty flavor to it. And I don't know, maybe another 10 seconds on the peanut butter because it's kind of it's not blending as well as I hoped. I don't know if you can see that. But you are going to cook it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse one of my bowls here, and I'm going to just taste it. I'm going to use my tasting spoon that I have here ready. Oh, that's good. I taste the peanut butter, but it's not strong. The vinegar is nice. Don't be afraid of the vinegar. And the sweetness of the hoisin sauce. And the soy sauce is so subtle, it just kind of brings all those flavors together. I love food. Okay. Next step is to combine the sauce, low heat, and then make sure everything is evenly coated. I didn't do a great job of like really breaking down the chicken. So if you want like smaller pieces, definitely pay more attention to that as you're cooking the chicken when it's still a bit raw. So I'm going to add the sauce. And I'm going to use I'm going to use this. Oh my God. That smells really good. And I know this is probably not going to be an everyday meal, but if you have friends coming over for game night, this is a good appetizer-like option. Oh, and I did want to mention that you could probably find a peanut sauce already made in the ethnic foods aisle, where you probably find the soy sauce too. And that might be a cheaper option to go as well. Maybe try that first and see if you like it, and then if you know you're going to make it a lot. Because these are pretty shelf-stable products. You probably can hold on to a lot of the stuff for years. Maybe not the Hoisin sauce. And again, I apologize if I'm butchering that pronunciation. Oh my. Okay, so what I would do in the future, I would double up on the sauce and add just a little bit more, because it is evenly coated, but it could be a little bit more coated. Alright, so I'm going to turn this off. And I have another bowl back here. I'm going to start plating. So I want this to stop cooking. And I'm sure if you want to use turkey, ground turkey, that would be fine. I'm not sure about pork. Pork has a different flavor. I mean, you could use ground beef. I know that's still a different flavor, but I think it'll go nicely. And also, honestly, pork too. I mean, pork is in a lot of Asian cuisines as well. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So just to see how much is coated. Again, I would add just a little bit more sauce, but I'm a sauce person. I'm going to clear my working area. Rice vinegar all over me. That's going to be a lovely smell for a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to move this as well. It's just kind of awkward because that is hot. Alright, so I have romaine lettuce. This is the pack that you get in the grocery store. It's not pre-washed, so be sure to do that at least 30 minutes before. And I'm going to grab some gloves. The rule is you can touch things with your hand if you're going to cook it. If you're not going to cook it, it is best to use gloves. So that's with your fruit salads, your salads in general. You could also use utensils. I'm just saying if you actually touch it with your hands. And it's just easier to do this with your hands. And I'm Mexican. We like to do things with our hands anyways. So I'm just going to put it in here to plate it. Make a few and then try it. You can see it didn't take me very long. It looks a lot fancier than something else you would do. It would take just as much time. And I am going to taste this and let you know what it tastes like. I would add a little salt and maybe just a little bit more sauce. Not too much though. Maybe have some sauce on the side if people want to add it more. So good. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, it's beautiful too. That concludes our cooking demo. I do want to take a few minutes to talk about the Emergency Food Assistance Program here at Bastrop County Emergency Food Pantry. Excuse me. It was really good. So, the food pantry is often the first line and sometimes the only line of defense against hunger that families and individuals in crisis have in Bastrop County. Participants of the program receive food packages more frequently and in larger quantities than traditional food pantries because the food pantry here in Bastrop really believes in giving families and individuals what they need in a time of crisis versus following a model that gives people food for just a few days. Participants in the Emergency Food Assistance Program get enough food that lasts for, nutritious food that lasts for 45 days. So if you need assistance or know somebody else who needs assistance, call the food pantry at 512-303-0033. And that concludes our cooking demo today. Thank you for joining us today. Show your support by sharing and liking the page, and I'll see you next week.